gentlemen outside to come in for facilitating the session, please. Okay. Before we have the big party in the evening, this is the last session of the day. And this session focuses on business in Caribbean and African countries. And we will have to chair this session our president, our chairman for GIBM 2012 and chairman of Oriental Supreme Company, functioning in 22 countries, including most of the Caribbean countries as well. Mr. Vijay Nahata, to come up on the dais, please. And we'll have Honorable Mohammed Irfan Ali, Minister of Tourism, Industries, Housing and Water Supply, Government of Guyana, to come up on the dais. And I have the pleasure to also invite Mr. Nicola Arena. Mr. Nicola Arena, Chairman of Mediterranean Shipping Company since January 2006. MSC USA is a steamship company specialized in ocean and intermodal transportation worldwide. MSC USA has over 1,100 employees. And can I also request from Africa, Dr. Dashrath Chetty. Dr. Dashrath Chetty served as the Pro Vice Chancellor of the University of KwaZulu-Natal, as President of the South African Sociological Association, and as National President of Marketing, Advancement and Communication Education. He is currently the President of GOPIO, South Africa, and President of Child Welfare, South Africa. So we have this session that focuses on the Caribbean business and African business, the challenges therein, the potentials, the possibilities. Over to Vijay, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. The exposure and recently what I got out of my travel throughout the world, especially Far East and Caribbean. What I find out that there is a completely imbalance of income, per capita income. In Caribbean, you see a country with $45,000 income, per capita income. You will see another country, $3,000 per capita. And in $45,000 income, or $23,000 income, 95% of the GDP only for 5% of the population. Meaning, example for Trinidad, their per capita income is $23,000. But 95% people, their income is less than $4,000. So they are below poverty line. Because of that, what happened? There is a crime and uneducation. Now, what Indians can do in these circumstances? Indians are good in agriculture. We know it from beginning. They're best. Good in the medicines. Good in education. Good in IT. Good in the language. That's the special advantage of Indians. And all these things Caribbean need. Why is there more crime? Bahamas, Trinidad, Haiti, Jamaica, highest crime. And the reason is crime is imbalance of the distribution of income and education. So what Indians can do, they can put the education in medicine, agriculture, small industries, because Caribbean don't have nothing. Even if they have to have the bottle of water, they have to import the bottle. Water they have, but they have to import the bottle. They don't have. Plastic bag they don't have. So there's a lot of small industries which Indians can do easily with a small investment, with the highest income. If you go to Bahamas, you have to pay $4 for a small lighter which costs 2 cents in China. costs $11 for one sandwich. Because the bread has to go from here. And that's Captain Arena has to take.
Don't blame us.
You're doing a service.
So there is a potential. Now, what has to be done? There has to be a bridge between. Indians don't know what's in Caribbean. They only know the West Indies. When they saw West Indies, that's it. Now West Indies have countries, Jamaica, Haiti. There's no money there. People are suffering. 95% people don't have food to eat, and 5% is dying with obesity. Because they have too much to eat, but there is no education. Not even in Caribbean, in every country. You will see people are dying with obesity. And you will see people are dying with no food, with hunger. Why? Imbalanced distribution. Caribbean need a lot of infrastructure. A lot of, they don't have buildings, they don't have apartments, they don't have houses. They have, but they're too expensive. There's not affordable housing. India can do that. No, I didn't find one Caribbean country out of 23 which produce brick, cement brick, has to be imported from Miami or Fort Lauderdale. 20 cents of a brick landed there with $3 cost. So they cannot afford to hire. What they need, the sand, cement, water they have. But there is not somebody to initiate to make a brick so they can make a cheaper house, which will cost $20,000 versus $200,000. Now in Anguilla and St. Kitts, now they come up with the geothermal energy, which is green energy, no cost, no oil, nothing, no pollution. Just you have to drill 2 holes, one going down in earth, one is coming out. One goes with the water, 4,000 meter, one come up with the steam runs the turbine. Why we cannot do that? The whole project costs less than $5 million. And that $5 million can cover the entire country. Need initiative. We need to find a way where Indians can find a way. And another my friend, Don Bosco, he is trying to make a dry canal in Nicaragua. If we can do that, and what I said before, people like MSC who has the best presence in Caribbean and Far East, I think we have a great future. Thank you. I'll give now to Captain Arena and see his expertise and his experience. Today, if MSC is standing, which is the largest shipping company, by container, I think 11 million containers they move a year. If I'm not wrong.
In the United States, we are number 1. Globally, we are still number 2.
But by container, you are highest. Is that what
Neck to neck.
He is too humble. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Before reading my remarks, first of all, I'd like to congratulate for this incredible gathering of important people, Indians from all around the world. I always know and respect and admire Indians because they have a very good education, they speak perfect English, better than I do, but also because they are consistent and are dedicated to succeed. When I was a young officer on board the Italian line, I sailed all around this area, all the islands, and I was fascinated to see that in the Caribbean, practically the most successful business people are Indian, have been always. It's true that there is a lot of different standard of living in the Caribbean, but the potential is there, and we believe that MSC can give a little contribution to reduce the cost right now it's really true what he says, because you have to buy at enormous price for transportation of a container because they come from India, from China, comes to the United States, then the container goes to a warehouse, the merchandise taken off the container is stored there, all of a sudden somebody calls from Aruba or from Bahamas, says, I need 10 pallets of this material. Then you take from the warehouse, put in another container, send there, and at the end is $5,000. Instead, if all of you can start thinking what can be done to help India and help the Indian traders who are in the Caribbean, that's really what is the zest of my presentation today, and then I'll be glad to respond to your questions. So first of all, good evening to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed an honor to exchange with you some ideas about the importance of containerization in a global economy. I would like also to share with you some memories of my shipping experience, so you can better appreciate the progress of ocean transportation during the past 50 years. My first assignment as junior deck officer in 1960 was on board a slow twin-decker from Genoa, Italy to Chile. Most of our cargoes were crates, drums, and bales, which were loaded into the ship's hold. A voyage by motor vessel from Europe to South America and the return could easily take over 3 months. Loading and discharging was a very slow process in spite of dozens of longshoremen working on the ship. Then Mr. Malcolm McLean, that I had the pleasure of meeting several times, a creative tracker from North Carolina, launched the first container ship in 1960, and gradually ocean commerce was revolutionized forever. Containerization expedited loading and discharging, eliminated pilferage, and reduced drastically the cost of shipping. Today, a food container from China or India can travel in a modern container ship and be delivered to an American port in 3 weeks at a reasonable cost. However, if you want to import only a few cases of furniture from Bali to Jamaica, you will need a consolidator, otherwise your shipment will take up to 3 months to deliver to your destination and it will cost you a lot of money. So we can say that in spite of the great progress in ocean transportation, for some Caribbean islands, the advantage of containerization is still a distant dream. We are here today to explore how we can expedite trading in the Caribbean and how we can improve the cost and the transit time of your import shipments. Please allow me to talk briefly about Mediterranean Shipping Company. My company pays my salary, so I have to do something. Our company is the second largest container carrier in the world, with a fleet of 459 ships. These are the container ships. We have also 11 cruise ships, magnificent cruise ships, very modern. Recently, we elected to centralize our transshipment hub in Freeport, Grand Bahama. This port has excellent facilities and we offer frequent connections to various Caribbean islands. However, the most important benefit of Freeport is the fact that this beautiful island is tax-free for any merchandise stored or transiting through the port. This is very important. In other words, if you import the container furniture from China or India, it gets debarked in Freeport and then loaded on our feeder ship destined to Jamaica or any other island with no tax and no additional transshipment charges. In reality, we should consider Freeport as a little Dubai, with a great potential to serve via feeders all Caribbean islands and also some countries in Central and South America. Our common interest is to facilitate and encourage Caribbean customers to consider the many advantages of requesting full containers of merchandise delivered directly to your islands via Freeport. Excuse me. I would like to now to express to you some personal considerations about the potential of the Global Indian Business Forum. When I was a senior purser on board Italian cruise ships, I visited most of the Caribbean islands, and I noticed that many of the local stores visited by our passengers were run by Indian nationals, and they were all successful. I'm sure that the business diaspora of the Indian community around the world, particularly in English-speaking countries, represents a tremendous asset for the Indian entrepreneurs. Through this forum, you can develop new business ties and which will certainly expand your global contacts. As you well know, the acronym BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and probably many of you have already some connection to these countries. We also, as MSC, have a very strong presence in all these areas. So, if you need any assistance in developing your business in the BRIC market, we can count on us. Well, first of all, thank you for being the patience. Now I'm ready to respond to your questions, but in general, I have to agree 100% with what Vijay was saying. It is incredible that so many beautiful islands are still very poor. And others, I'm very active in the Bahamas. Bahamas is a standard of living which could be almost like the United States. But at the same time, you know that the Asians, the Santo Domingo, probably the income is $3, $5 a day. So it's a tremendous difference between among the islands. And that is mostly because, number one, certain islands have not developed enough. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the education to do it. And sometimes the poor people, they have to pay much, much more than other islands. So, but if we publicize and we tell them that there is a way, a better way of doing it, especially with your Indian contacts all around the Caribbean and Central America and some part in the South America. Like I understand that Guyana is a very big. I hope that our minister will tell us. One of my assistants is from Guyana, and she told me that 50% of the population is Indian origin, and they're very hard working. They speak perfect English, and there is a potential there. But unless we inspire them and teach them to
just a correction. There is not a potential, there is tremendous potential.
Anyway, if you need any
Mr.
question,
Minister.
please.
You mentioned that this Bahama is a free port. So anything moved from China or India to Bahama, and then let's, for example, to Aruba.
Yes, it can be do, but there is a, I'm sorry.
But you see, the word free port came, the definition, because it is a free port. It means that you go in Dubai or even in other areas like Panama. Panama is also. So there is a free port, and you can take the container away from the port, bring in a warehouse which is bonded, and you keep your stuff there. And then all of a sudden you have a connection, and immediately you can, the same day, take one of our containers, you fill it with the material, and goes to Aruba, to Jamaica, wherever you want.
No, I'm just
No.
specific about Aruba.
Let me answer you, Dr. Silvano's question. His question is money, not the shipping.
Ah,
So there is an island called Freeport, Grand Bahamas. On that island, if you import any item from any country, it's tax-free and import duty-free. From there, that is the one part, that island is allowed to import free. The second part is from that island, if you export anywhere within the Caribbean, CARICOM, that is duty-free. So what you can do, you can import from 10 different countries, bring it down in a Freeport, put in a warehouse, and distribute from there to other CARICOM, it's completely duty-free. So if they import from China to Aruba, it's dutiable. But if they import from China to Freeport, they are trying to
Yes.
find a way.
but you see, excuse me, but instead, because if you order a container from China, you have to wait at least 1 month to arrive to United States, then it goes into another warehouse, and then you have to pay twice, because everything comes in the United States pays duties, almost everything. So then export, you have to assemble the container, move again, is much more expensive, almost double. So in this way, you get, once you call, you get the time from Freeport to Aruba already, not from China. You bypass. You arrive, bring the cargo first to a trader or somebody who is very familiar with, he has a warehouse in Freeport, and then you can export from there. It's much faster.
They're trying to beat the system.
No, actually, he put in our mind.
That's what we're here. We want to educate as much as possible, so at least to know the way to save money. And in saving money is better for us, better for you, and much faster.
Now I would like to request Minister of Housing and Trade and Tourism, Mr. Ali from Guyana.
Thank you very much.
Is okay?
Okay, sorry. All right, good evening. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening to share with you some potential opportunities in Guyana generally, and to speak to you perhaps a bit on the potential in the rest of the Caribbean also. Whilst you might have been daunted by some of what BJ would have said in his introductory remarks, I want you to know that Guyana is a country that has a literacy rate of 98%. We were one of the first countries in the region to achieve universal primary education, and it is the hope of President Donald Ramatar that we achieve universal secondary education in his term of office, which is going on right now. If you look at the level of resources India spends on foreign relations, you would expect to see a significant level of international recognition coming back to the country. If you look at the percentage per capita of investment the developed world spends on foreign relations, you would expect to see a certain level of return in terms of recognition. Guyana perhaps is among the 10 countries in the world with the lowest expenditure on foreign relations. However, the limited investment that we have made in foreign relations has earned us more than 5 international awards. Our president, our former president, in 2010 was named the United Nations Champion of the Earth, and he is leading the battle in the environment. He has worked on developing what is termed the low carbon development strategy. And that strategy is a strategy that seeks to have payment for standing forests or the trade of carbon. So if the developed world wants to tell the developing world that you need to keep your standing forest, then there must be some cost to this foregone. And we are contending that somebody must bear that cost. We are very humanitarian people, but we also have an economy to take care of. So whilst we hold a significant portion of the Amazon, there is also economics in this. And that is why we have led this low carbon development strategy. And Guyana is the first country to receive payments for carbon credit in the agreement we signed with Norway. And the first payment is to the value of $250 million. That is the trajectory that we're on. But before I go into any detail, I just want to mention one small point. And this is not by me or any person from Guyana. This is a statement from UNCTAD. Investing in LDCs risk and return. You might all ask yourself this question: why would anyone invest in a less developed country? A presumably hard-headed investor might ask, and the risk too high and the profits precarious. This is the response by UNCTA. This perception, though unfounded, seems widespread in some business circles. When it comes to profits, the evidence is that the rate of return on FDI in less developed countries is often much higher than investment in developed countries. Or even more developed emerging economies. Often a negative perception of the LDCs result in an enormous untapped potential. As such, investors able to do their homework and distinguish between perception and reality may find abundant and lucrative investment opportunities. These investors can benefit from first mover status as opposed to location where everyone wants to be investing. First movers can pick the most promising opportunities if they're able to navigate the challenges that come with doing business in LDCs. Investors will find their experience quite rewarding. I just want to start this presentation by quoting that. And why do I quote this? If one is to go by the perception of the Caribbean, the CARICOM region, then you would think it best that those small population, small market, etc. And you would forget that there are many positive elements of the Caribbean, including, and most importantly, its geographic positioning. Now let me say to you briefly where Guyana has come from, so you'll have an understanding of how this country is improving rapidly. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Guyana had an inflation of 109%. Today, inflation is below 4%. And this has been this way for the last 7 years. Commercial loans, an industrial loan, was at an interest rate of 40%. Today, commercial and interest loans are at a rate of 9%. Housing loan was at a rate of 35%. Today, housing loan is at a rate of 3.75%. We are a country of 83,000 square miles, linked directly with Brazil through a bridge, linked to Suriname through a ferry, and hopefully within this term of office would be linked also to Suriname by a bridge. What this means is that although we are a population of approximately 785,000, we have direct access to a population of 10 million in northern Brazil. Just to demonstrate how important this 10 million population is to us and to Brazil, presently the Brazilian government is negotiating with the government of Guyana to develop a 2,000 megawatt hydropower project for export of power and supply to Brazil. Now imagine that this is done on a border town. Imagine the sheer potential. For the central Brazil, and this is where the logistics comes in, and I think that your industry has one of the greatest potential in Guyana. So for a container to go to North America, before it gets to the central port in Brazil, they have to transport it for approximately 4.5 days. And then they have to transport it for another 7 days in shipping. If they bring that same container through Guyana, it will take them 1 day to get it to the main port, and then approximately less than 4 days to get it into North America. What this means is that tremendous opportunity and potential is going to be opened up. And the Brazilians are very quick on this, and the Chinese. We have about 10 proposals from China and Brazil now. And these proposals are all seeking to finance